including murder. Because they think, oh, this is the CIA, I'm going to do some wet work. They're going to be impressed that I killed this guy in Syracuse and I buried his body under the train tracks, right? Wait, they're not impressed. They're calling the FBI before you can leave the building.
CIA 면접장에서 살인을 자백한 지원자가 있었습니다. 그는 CIA가 감탄할 거라 생각했지만 건물을 나서기도 전에 FBI가 기다리고 있었습니다. 전직 CIA 요원 존 키리아쿠가 직접 겪은 채용 과정의 실체입니다.
I go to the address and it's this, normal office tower that Rosalind's famous for. And I go up to whatever it was. I think it was the 6th floor. And there's no name on the door, nothing. It's just a door. So I knock on the door and this guy opens the door just a crack and he says, "Are you here for Bob?" And I said, "Yes." So he lets me in, and it's a little 6 by 6 foot atrium. But the second door has a big spin dial lock on it, like a bank, right? So he does the dial, and there's a woman on the other side. And she said, "Are you here for Bob?" And I said, "I am." So she lets me in, and I'm sitting there. And then Bob comes out. I still, to this day, I have no idea if his name really was Bob.
Yeah.
And that's the only name I ever knew him by. But he was like a 6'6", 320-pound, loud, smiling, good old guy. "John, I'm Bob. How the hell are you?" And he shakes my hand. "Come on in." So he says, "Jerry says you're a good guy." I said, "Well, I appreciate it." I said, "He's an amazing professor. He's a great guy." And he says, "John, let me ask you something. Have you ever betrayed a friendship?" And I was like, "Oh, I don't think so. I hope not." He said, "Okay, that's okay. Listen, I want you to do a couple of things for me." He says, "I want you to go to this address. There are going to be some people there waiting for you." And I said, "Like right now?" And he says, "Yeah, right now." I said, "Okay." He said, "Then I want you to call me, or better yet, I'll call you." I said, "Okay." So I go home, I get in my car, I drive out to this equally nondescript building in Vienna, Virginia. 1-story flat building that you would drive past 1,000 times, you would never notice it. So I ring the bell. This guy lets me in. "You John?" And I said, "Yeah, come on in." So I go there, and there's a table with 3 chairs on one side and 1 chair on the other. And in the 3 chairs are 3 people who never identified themselves by name, but they identified themselves as being a psychologist, a psychiatrist, and an anthropologist. So I sit down. No hello, how are you? Nothing. I just sit down. I said hello. They all just kind of looked at me. And then one of them says, "Describe your relationship with your mother." And I go, "Oh." I said, "Yeah, my mom and I are close. She's a school teacher, and, she's a terrific mother and very nurturing and, took good care of all 3 of us. And, well, what do you say?" And then they're like, "Okay, describe your relationship with your father." So I did. I said, "My dad's a good guy. He's kind of introverted. My mom was the extrovert of the family." "Was your father the disciplinarian?" And I said, "No, actually. My dad's a big, strong guy, and I think he was probably always afraid he would hurt us or something. So no, my dad's a very gentle soul." Then they asked me that question again. "Have you ever betrayed a friendship?" And I said, "I don't think so. Let me think about it for a second." And then the anthropologist says, No, that's the answer we were looking for." And then one of them says, "You're going to need to go into the next room and you need to give us some piss, some blood, and some hair." I go, "Okay." So I went and gave him some piss, some blood, and some hair. And then I left. I went home. I called my fiance. She goes, "How did it go?" I said, "I have no idea." They asked me these 3 weird questions. It took 15 minutes. Then they took my pee, my blood, and pulled some of my hairs out.
면접관 3명은 끝내 이름을 밝히지 않았습니다. 인사도 없이 바로 질문을 시작했고 마지막엔 혈액과 소변, 머리카락까지 가져갔습니다. 이것이 CIA 채용의 첫 번째 관문이었습니다.
And they start asking you questions. Have you ever committed a violent felony? No. Have you ever used a weapon in a crime? No. And then they get, into more mundane things. Are you financially responsible? Yes. Have you ever shoplifted anything? No. Have you ever taken anything from the office worth more than $20? No. Have you ever had sex with a man? And she just threw that one at me like a grenade. So I go, no, which was true. But I could feel my heart going like this, like she's trying to trip me up. And she says, let's take a little break. You're sweating profusely. I can tell that you're nervous. I said, yeah, you kind of threw that question out there like a grenade into the middle of the room. She said, it's a standard question. I said, I understand. So I just kind of sat there for a couple of minutes and got my heart rate to slow down. And then she said, I'll be honest with you, you are reacting to one of the questions. Which was bullshit. I was not reacting to one of the questions. But I came to learn later in my career that this is a turd that they throw at you to see how you respond to it. I said, okay. And so she says, I'm gonna consult with my boss, and then I'm gonna come in and we're gonna go back over the question that you're reacting to. I was like, great. So she leaves. And you know that they're right there on the other side of the window or of the mirror. You can't see them, but you know that they're there. So she comes back in and she says, you're reacting to the question about credit card usage. I go, what? And she says, yes. Are you irresponsible with your credit cards? I go, no. I don't have any balance on my credit cards. I pay my credit cards in full every month. I'm still laughing about it all these years later. This is 25 years ago. No, it's 35 years ago. 35 years ago. So she asked me again the credit card question, and I answered no. And then she's like, okay, we're done. So she starts unhooking me. And I said, how did I do? And she said, we're not allowed to say. And she winked at me. And I was like, oh my God, I can't believe I passed. Mostly, admit to every crime you can imagine, including murder. Because they think, oh, this is the CIA, I'm going to do some wet work. They're going to be impressed that I killed this guy in Syracuse and I buried his body under the train tracks, right? Wait, they're not impressed. They're calling the FBI before you can leave the building, and then the FBI is going to come and take you away, which is exactly what happened.
CIA 폴리그래프는 단순한 거짓말 탐지가 아니었습니다. 당신이 어떻게 반응하는지를 보는 심리전이었고 검사관은 일부러 거짓 반응을 유도하기도 했습니다.